Before we close out season one, I just want to keep things simple and real. Most people are not dealing with some huge disaster. It's usually something small, a stressful day, a rough night, eating more than they planned, standing in the kitchen afterward thinking, man, I did it again. And honestly, that's where the whole problem begins. Not with food, with the story people tell themselves after. That little shift from that was a rough night to I always do this. That is what keeps people stuck. One hard moment turns into judgment. One slip turns into identity. And the next day gets weird. People start skipping breakfast, punishing themselves. They drink extra coffee, promise to be more stricter. And by the evening, they're right back in the same place. That's really what this season was about, trying to break that pattern. We started by talking about why people keep starting all over. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they keep turning normal human moments into total collapse. Then we started talking about something I wish more people heard earlier in life. Maybe nothing's wrong with you. Maybe your body's not broken. Maybe your hunger, your tiredness, your cravings, your stress, all of it is not proof that you failed. Maybe it's just information or signals. That idea matters because once something becomes a signal, you stop attacking yourself. You start paying attention. That's a much better place to work from. We also talked about willpower and how people blame themselves for not having enough of it, when really they are just overloaded. Their brain gets tired, stress builds up, sleep changes everything. A person at the end of a long day is not working with the same mental energy they had in the morning. That is not weakness, that is just being human. We talked about hunger too, because hunger is not the enemy. Hunger is your body trying to get your attention. Food is not the enemy either. Food was made to help you live, think, move, recover, and feel steady. Somewhere along the line, a lot of people learned to fear food and mistrust hunger. And that created a battle that never needed to happen in the first place. Then we talked about tiredness. A lot of people are walking around thinking they're lazy. They really are just running on fumes, not enough sleep, not enough food earlier in the day, not enough water, too much stress, too much noise. Then they wonder why everything's harder than it should. We talked also about the first meal because mornings matter more than people think. And we talked about night cravings and how it usually starts long before the sun goes down. The scale, that is something that I emphasize the most because that number can mess with someone's whole mind even when their body is actually improving. And we also talked about diets and why so many of them look good in the beginning but fall apart when real life shows up. If I had to pull all of season one into one simple truth, it would be this: stop making one hard moment mean too much. Stop making it your identity. Listen to your signals, listen to your body, and always look back in the past. That's where people get hurt. Not by just one meal, not by one rough day, but they decide that moment says everything about them. If you had a rough night, the answer is not to get dramatic the next morning. But you do not need to punish yourselves. You do not need to act like everything is ruined. You probably just need some water, a normal breakfast, some protein, and a steadier day. That's how real progress works. It usually looks boring, calm, not dramatic, not exciting enough for social media. Just normal things done again before the situation gets bigger than it needed to be. That is how trust starts building again, not by being perfect, by handling imperfect moments better, by not letting one rough evening turn into a whole week of chaos, by not talking to yourself like one off plan meal raced every good thing you've been doing. And I think people need permission to hear that because a lot of people are trying very hard. They really are, and they're just tired of feeling like every small mistake turns into proof that they cannot do this. You can do this, you just can't do it with that kind of self-attack running the whole show. Health is not about being a tense all the time. It's about getting steadier. It's about understanding your signals earlier. It's about noticing that you are behind in sleep, behind in your fluids, your fuel, and just mentally cooked from the day. It's about doing the next sensible thing instead of turning everything into a reset. So, as we end season one, I want to leave you with something plain and useful. A rough day is just a rough day. A rough meal is just a rough meal. A rough night is just a rough night. He does not need to decide who you are. The next morning is not about being good, it's just another chance to be a little steadier than the day before. And that takes us to season two, which I'm excited about because now that we have cleared some of the shame and confusion out of the way, hopefully, we can finally talk about food in a calmer, more honest way. Season two is called Food Without Fear. We're going to talk about what food is actually doing to the body, dive deep into protein, carbs, fats, fiber, metabolism, why eating less can backfire, why food got so confusing in the first place, and how to build meals that actually fit real life and help the body feel safe instead of stress. Because once the fear starts quieting down, food stops feeling like the problem. Once you understand a little bit of the science in plain terms, you'll understand why eating is not a bad thing. It is just nutrition and support for your body. And you'll start to notice this is where healing actually begins. And if the season connected with you, my book, Obesity, The War Within, is on Amazon. It carries the same message, but just in a deeper way. Just another resource to help you learn how to break the cycle and create your rhythm. I'll see you in season two.